and welcome to Unwarranted Music Opinions, the show that will have a different theme song very soon. I'm June Lindberg here with Brian Courtney.
Hi.
And Chaz Jenkins.
When I was 16, I dated a boy with my own name. It was weird.
I feel like that's such deep reference that no one is going to understand what you're talking about, and it's just going to creating confusion. That's all that's happening right now is you're creating confusion. Did he really? Did he not? Anyway, today's episode is the last album discussion type of episode of this show, of this quote-unquote season of Unwarranted Music Opinions. The theme is new music.
New albums.
We're all choosing albums that have been released in the past year or so. Because we're recording this I'm going to date the podcast, January. Nothing really has come out of note in 2021. So it's all 2020 albums. And we have a pretty eclectic group of releases to talk about today. We're going to kick things off with Brian's pick.
I picked Dorian Electra's My Agenda. Dorian Electra, breakout pop artist in, it's such a long year, 2019, I think, 2019 with their debut album, Flamboyant. Mostly a collection of singles they had released before with some new originals as well. It's super poppy, super anthemic. Lots of great cuts on there. Mostly about like gender identity, gender politics, and kind of assuming these roles and critiquing them or just kind of representing them in a song, like Career Boy or Daddy Like, just different characters like,
the most Brian song I've ever heard.
Yeah. Sugar daddies, but also like kind of like Flamboyant is kind of more autobiographical, for Dorian. So it kind of a mix of cuts about assuming this character, kind of breaking it down in a song and then going to the next song and doing the same thing, and personal song, which is basically what we have here too, just done in a different way. On My Agenda, Dorian kind of assumes the role of like toxic online men in a lot of the songs, and kind of breaks down that character with like basic pop lyrics. And there's also a mix of songs on here. They're also personal for Dorian, like My Agenda, which is a song about like, it's basically just a big pride song, but it has like the Village people on it. They're there, and Pussy Riot's there, and it's just strange. So the caveat here is all this music is really over the top, extremely over the top, probably more over the top on Flamboyant, but here it's really more in your face and over the top. This one's crazy. I mean, okay, so there's a lot of fast paced beats on here. Some Nightcore-esque kind of beats, like these very sped up. It's like sped up club beats. I mean, this is kind of why the genre this is in kind of gets called hyperpop, because it's the most exaggerated features of like club bangers, basically. And like everything on here is just bam, bam, bam. Save for the closer, the whole time we're just going. It's 24 minutes. I don't think a single song on here reaches 4 minutes. It's a lot to take in.
There's only 2 songs that reach 3 minutes.
A lot to take in here. So here's what I like about it. I think it's deceptively smart. I think it's actually really smart, even though the lyrics are very simple and it is, like I said, very over the top. I think the commentary that Dorian kind of provides is witty and funny, but also, kind of serious. It's the most basic characteristics of these characters. It doesn't really get taken that far. But I think they do a good job of, for how long the tracks are, giving you the most that you could possibly get out of them in their current state. I think the biggest critique is everything could have been taken a little bit further. It could have been a little more realized. But for the most part, that's my only complaint. And for the most part, I think everything here basically does its job. Like there's no filler really. The only track I feel like that doesn't come across with like any new or really deceptively smart, I guess I'll keep calling them ideas, is Barbie Boy. Just kind of like the only Dorian song I think I've heard so far that I'm kind of just whatever on. It's not my favorite. Don't really care for it all that much. I think it's just super
It's right in the middle. I think it's a good cool down. Just a simple, like, silly song.
It's fine. It's still catchy. A lot of what's here is really catchy, in my opinion. But the track just doesn't really. I don't know. It doesn't really do it for me in the face of all the other stuff that's here. So it starts off with F the World, which is like assuming this online identity. This dude online, I think it is, and it's like, you know, with a really telling line like F the world because I'm ugly, like F the world, you know, want to hug me, stuff like that. Like, you know, this sad little person who isn't loved and hates themselves and is like kind of represented on this song. And then you kind of, in a way, you kind of watch them spiral as the album goes on, like with Iron Fist and Gentleman Milady, which is kind of like a 2-part song where it's like, because of this inciting thought, it's like there's more toxicity coming. So he turns into like the fedora tipping, you know, like toxic, you know, Milady is so perfect, like very dated way to talk about it. I think that stuff is more 2013 than it is like 2020, but it existed. I mean, it was a meme for a while, and like, you know, there are tons of old pictures of people on the internet with like the fedoras in the mall. Like it's like a group of young white kids, and they're all have fedoras. You know, they're decked out and they're like black button ups. You know, but
and you probably think that aesthetic is awesome.
It is when you recontextualize it. Like if you're not, so like that kid wearing it, if it were me, like at 12, kind of big cringe, a little bit cringe. Everyone does it, you know. Everyone's cringe at some point.
Not that cringe, not to that level.
when you repurpose it, and you're dressing in like Dorian Electra is like dressing up as this character, and now you're wearing it, like you're aware of that stigma of it, but still going. Then it's kind of like, well, it might be awesome. Hold on, like, you know. I feel like once you own it, you know, if you're secure in it, it's like, well, it's actually great.
Chaz, look at those short as fuck shorts.
He said they were too short.
They're too short.
This is a visual thing.
Why are you complaining? That's more for you to look at.
Well, my thighs are pasty as well.
Pasty thighs.
So this spiral kind of comes to a crescendo on Edgelord, which is a song like, I'm an edgelord. You know, you don't want to sleep with me. You're gross.
Fantastic performance by Rebecca Black, internet legend.
Not even joking. Like,
eats it up. Eats the whole track up.
She kills it.
Best feature on the whole thing. Then you Ram It Down is like another amazing moment. So this is like, okay, I think that's where things go off the rails.
That is ending like, part is, you know, still scares me. It still
touting
scares me.
There's like metal vocals. There's a lot of genre fusion on here. There's like metal vocals and very fast, like this is like getting to be like Gabber levels of like ridiculously fast tempo electronic beats.
It's hardcore. Yeah.
He's taking like this motif of like, you can be gay, you can be trans, you can be whatever. Just don't ram it down my throat. And it's kind of taking the ram it down my throat and making it about like you're choking on a dick, basically. Like it's like and you know, he goes from saying don't ram it down to like please ram it down my throat. I can't breathe. That's awesome. There's like choking sounds, and then give great thanks. The song is kind of like has two different meanings. So it's supposed to be this conclusion for like the character on the album, like giving in to these urges they have, and just they're like, you know, they're being completely toxic and rejecting their own desires. But this is them like giving in. But really, I think it's just like a BDSM anthem of
it's the bottom anthem.
It's the bottom
way
anthem.
To put it.
Like,
there's no way else to put it.
And it's actually a song that Dorian talked about being extremely personal to them when they did it. Like they didn't have it. They asked everyone to leave the room when they recorded it. So it was actually like and they were talking about how vulnerable it is to like give yourself to a person like that. And that kind of like recontextualized it a little bit in my head. This was actually the first single for this album was Give Great Thanks, which is totally different from anything Dorian has ever done. You know who produced this track? Clarence Clarity, my guy. And it sounds awesome. I love the little keyboard embellishments. We can't hear June anymore. And the piano part at the end is really cathartic too. I like the little way it plays out. So yeah, I thought top to bottom it was great. I love this pretty much as Flamboyant. It's not as fully realized, I know, but it's just so fucking ridiculous, but also like is sharp. And it just puts a big stupid fucking smile on my face because like every time Sorry Bro, I Love You comes, I fucking love that song. That's not 1 minute 30 seconds. I just start it from the top. I'm just gonna play it again because it's just so fucking good. Oh, dude, that fucking fuzzy bass, that Oh, the dude right before the chorus. God damn, it's so awesome. Great album. Go ahead. I don't even care.
I would concur with said statement, young sir, my lord. This is a fantastic album. It's fucking ridiculous, and scares me sometimes. But it's a great album. Just in a musical experience like no other. This is one of those examples, like God is my co-pilot, where it's like, Brian, if you had started with this instead of Queen, we would not be doing the show anymore. You know, it just never again. You know, we tried it. It was fun. Let's never talk about this again. But since then, you've all just completely desensitized me. Best PC music, Deconstructed Club, Bubblegum Bass, all yada yada yada. Best stuff we've heard for the show. It beats Sophie. It beats Charlie XCX. It beats Shy Girl. It's the best, hands down.
It's top shelf
because for a lot of reasons. One, it's poignant. It is superbly poignant. I completely agree with everything you've talked about with the lyrical content on this. It's some of the best this album has to offer. I love the way it flips so many things on its side and commentates on stupid shit like 4chan, iFunny, Reddit, just some racist cesspools of dumb, stupid edgelord memes. Love how it completely takes certain, maybe not meant to be, but pretty much homophobic lines, like classic buzzwords, and flips them on their way. It's just great. Absolutely great.
Like the part on My Agenda, like at the breakdown at the end, it's like, we're turning all the frogs homosexual.
Yeah, awesome. Goes hard,
so fucking awesome.
As fuck. I mean, like the Nightcore moments are fucking.
It doesn't stop.
It's amazing.
Stop.
It's amazing. Like the electro pop and the trap and fucking industrial rock shit. Hilarious.
Okay. Two things I want to comment. There is, I didn't put this in because I was trying to get the whole thing in one picture. There is a heavy breathing breakdown on Milady.
Amazing.
Like, the character.
Mouth breathing, great.
It's great.
So I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome because there's a lot here. So at a 24-minute runtime, perfect. It gets in, gets out, says what it needs to say, blows your mind, and then goes. Like, perfect. You know, we're not... Could not be happier by that. I can't praise the lyrical content enough. That's what really surprised me. Even though songs like Give Great Thanks and Ram It Down make me incredibly uncomfortable, they're great. They're great. Some great lyrics on this. Sorry, Bro, I Love You, Iron Fist, Milady, Gentleman, pretty much every fucking song's got some great lyrical moments.
I love what Dorian does with their voice on a lot of the songs, especially Ram It Down, like on the chorus, like, don't ram it down my throat. Like this really weird inflection.
Crazy. So Dorian Electra's gender fluid. So they, them pronouns. What's crazy is on the album, they sound like a man with just a lot of filters on. But when I watched like a live version of them, female, like sounded female. So I think it's crazy what they do to their vocals on this album. It completely...
They kind of embody it's obviously like their gender identity, but they really like embody it too in their music by just flying between the roles as well, both vocally and like...
Yeah, you kind of do that in the music videos as well with like Gentlemen.
Can we talk about that?
They're taking...
Whoa, Brian, I thought the music videos were meant to be separated from the music. You motherfucker.
Look, I told you in confidence, the Less Sex video is very cringe.
It's trash.
I told you that shit was really fucking
trash.
It's not good. No, it's really not good. But the music videos for this one
are amazing.
I think, like required reading to an extent.
So to go back to Chaz's point about the exploration of gender roles throughout this album, and I think throughout Dorian Electra's entire body of work, you can see it in the music videos for this record. Gentlemen, where they're taking on the role of the cringy incel gentleman, and Milady, where they're taking on the role of the Milady, right? And so Dorian has had so many personas through their catalog. You've got the Sorry Bro, I Love You, Get Up. You've got the Give Great Thanks. You've got all the stuff that was on Flamboyance.
what the fuck is the vibe in Sorry Bro? Like, there is so much going on. There's like, okay, so we got like basketball shorts over boxers, tons of tattoos, like pink mullet kind of going on, makeup as well.
The best.
Like,
And then you've also got straight Dorian.
The
like,
best.
straight Dorian is shocking.
The best is Edgelord. The Joker getup is fucking genius. That
Oh,
is
dude, I love the
amazing.
Joker. It's fucking like, I remember seeing it and was like, I was like, oh, it's a little cringe, but I was like, and they've succeeded. Like that. That was the,
So-
I don't know. It's like maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but I'm just like, this is am I stupid or is this genius?
So,
like, I don't
why-
know what to think.
So why does this connect with me more than any other like PC music stuff we've talked about for the show? Because most of it scares me.
Because it's fun as fuck. It's
It
fucking
is,
lit.
and it doesn't. I liked Charlie XCX a lot, but that was more for the lyrics. Some of the music just didn't really hit with me as hard. It wasn't as catchy as I wanted it to be. Sophie straight up fucking terrifies me. As much as I love her whole embodiment, she scares the fuck out of me. Shy Girl so far was the best because I liked the blend of genres. The UK hip hop and grime added so much to that types of music. Here though, this scratches a musical itch that is so small on my body that it's like it just fucking exploded and I got chickenpox. Like, it just spread like wildfire. I was so, as soon as F the World, the fucking F the World be bop, and the fucking like nightcore happy hardcore bro step bullshit started happening, I was like, yeah! I was like, yeah!
Bro step. Good point. There's a lot of bro step all over this.
It's
thing. Like, it's
amazing.
literally
like I'm surprised Broken Side wasn't on this fucking album. Like I like
Fucking gross.
why do we invoke Broken Side with all this shit now? Every 100 gags or like Dorian, people are like, oh, it's totally Broken Side. No,
So-
they may have, like they didn't help. Don't give them credit.
I'm gonna steal a joke from Brian. I don't want to throw around the world, trailblazing, but it really is like trailblazing.
Milestone, classic material, like classic shit.
So
it's important to use those words when it's necessary.
production, fantastic. I love how everything sounds. I love the vocal
Dylan
effects
Brady's
on Dorian
all over the
Electra's.
thing, I think.
Yeah, 100 Gex, who don't know, that's a 100 Gex member producing some of the music here. Sega Bodega helps out with one of my favorite songs, Barbie Boy, who I believe helps with Shy Girl, if I'm not mistaken there. Let's talk about the best thing about this album, though, is the fucking features. Holy crap, the features on this thing.
Okay.
Whoa!
Lot to take in. There are two that are really like, what's happening? And it's Village People and Rebecca Black.
And they kill
'Cause
it.
The Village People did YMCA.
And Macho
Rebecca
Man.
Black.
And Macho Man. Don't sleep
They
on
did Macho
Village
Man
People.
as well,
They're
that's
one of the greatest funk groups of that era. Like disco funk. Disco funk. Hey! That shit is slapping. Disco funk era, Village People are slept on. Like that's some of the best shit ever. And Rebecca Black just completely, she needs to get into the PC music field because then she would just reach a legendary status like a second time. And if you don't know who Rebecca Black is, you're sleeping. You've been slept on because
This is like under rock levels of not knowing who someone is.
exactly.
So best verse, best feature.
All the features kill it. I love that there's like a very obscure black metal band that comes in on one track with like some fucking Dark Throne bullshit monk chanting. Love that. I like it better in this context than the actual
What's
black
the song
metal.
called? What's the song called?
Monk mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interlude.
Yeah.
It's an interlude.
So I think it's funny
Why
that
is it right before Edgelord?
Maybe they were just maybe they got really into black metal.
Maybe
no.
monk mode is like they're like swearing themselves to virginity.
Well, it
I don't know.
reminds me of the lyric from Pinkerton, not to bring up Rivers Cuomo again, but the line in Across the Sea where he's like, maybe I'll just be a monk, be a good boy. I think
Probably.
that it's taking that idea of like, I'm becoming a monk because I'm celibate, but it also could be, I can't get a girl, so I might as well just go celibate. That incel bullshit.
Could be.
Yeah.
What a weird. That's a fucking. I love the reach to Pinkerton for that.
Yeah. I mean, but that is what that album represents. It's truly
Incels.
it's the Virgin album. You got the
Virgin
Chad,
album.
you got the Chad Ratitude and the Virgin Pinkerton. That's the meme.
I don't know. I don't know if it's Chatitude. First of all, and I don't know if Ratitude is, that one might be even more.
Brian,
it could be more Chad. I don't know. Tough call.
Go to the fucking subreddit right now, and you will be proven wrong immediately. The subreddit is completely. What is a good Weezer album and a bad Weezer album has changed because of that fucking subreddit. It is just a mess over there. It's a cesspool. I want to mention Pussy Riot is on this album. Great band, terrible music. Just great. What
does that mean?
Just
elaborate.
Great name, great image, great mythos, horrible music. I wish Pussy Riot's music backed up everything about that band because but they're great on this album. They got a great feature as well. The features kill it. Not a single slept on moment. All of them go 100% into just the fuck jam that is this album. I had so much fun with it. Smiling from ear to ear until we get to the last two tracks. Until we get to the last two tracks where my smile goes from a shudder, I'm having a blast. An absolute blast,
It's so much fun. June, what do you think? How much fun did you have? Rate your fun.
I like this album.
Oh, no.
I really, really like how fun it is. I really like Dorian Electra as, a person. I think that their whole image and the fact that they're using their music to communicate this idea of gender fluidity, I think is really cool. So yeah, I'm down with Dorian Electra.
But
yep, that big butt.
The music on this record, even though I like it, and I did grow to like it more over repeated listens, it's just not really my vibe. I'm not super into the EDM aspects of this, or the bro step, or just most of the musical beginnings of this. It's not my thing, and this is one of those things where I don't know how to. I
to
usually
put
have
June
a better
on blast.
explanation as
I
to why
know.
like something that much.
To put June on blast, I know June's score, but I know what her original score is. Her score went up by 1. And once you know what her new score is, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I'm taking your music critic card again.
I think it's too smart for her.
Maybe so. Maybe I'm just not at the level.
I think you get it. You're at me and Chaz. We just, we're not always agreeing, but we at least understand.
We're fucking Chads, and June, the lonely virgin, is over there. Fucking yeah.
Yeah, you got the lurk. You got the little lean over. You're fucking bent over. You look like a lowercase F looking.
While me
ass.
and Brian got bloated knees and huge brains. Fuck yeah, dude.
We're fucking massive, dude.
Oh jeez. Oh shit. Anyway, I basically concur with everything you said about the themes. Does it vibe? Yeah. Yes. To an extent.
That's
yes,
like saying I took some bath salts and I'm vibing right now. Nobody vibes to bath salts. They fucking tweet.
I'm having a problem with it.
Bro, I Love You is a vibe. Is a total vibe.
Sorry, Bro, I Love You is really good. I really like My Agenda. I really like Edgelord, and I really like Give Great Things. Gentleman also has a kind of a catchy beat too. Everything else, musically, am I that entranced by the music that's happening? The bass lines, the synths, the beats? Not really. They don't excite me that much for whatever reason. F the World, that's a really good example. I know how Chaz, you said, immediately, as soon as that, boom, 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 that sort of happy hardcore-ish.
That is a middle school staple. That is a middle school staple, my friend. That hit a dark depths of my brain.
Connection. I have no connection to that style at all. And just hearing it on this, I was I just don't.
But it fits with the Deconstructed Club. It fits with the Deconstructed Club bubblegum bass motif so perfectly. Just like Shy Girls UK Grime and UK. It fits with it.
I love that you go and name every genre I love that you just name it all every time. You're fucking hammered.
I think it fits so well, and it's kind of like amazing no one's touched this yet. But like, really, this is like this was just a treasure trove waiting to be dug into. I love how, even though I'm not always into these genres, I love how they just keep expanding. Like every new release expands on it in some way. I mean, some of the musical tags.
Have you ever been to like? They've been doing like virtual concerts and stuff, and they've not just Dorian, but like like Charlie will show up at some, or like Laura Less of 100 Gex, or just a lot of like hyper pop staple kind of artists now. Yeah, they've showed up at a few like 100 Gex Minecraft concerts. But this is pretty much what that shit sounds like. It's a lot of remixes and stuff. This definitely seems kind of to be in that direction where they've been doing a lot of remix stuff, a lot of turning tracks into like club songs, like remixing them for that purpose, or just making new songs that are kind of club bangers. Definitely, I think this definitely comes from a place of having been doing a lot of that lately. Doing these at home from home concerts and all that. But goddamn, it's just so fun. It's just so much fun, even though the lyrical content is more serious than it'll probably get credit for most people who listen to it. And I know it's kind of basic, but it's and it could be more fully explored. But the commentary. I know the commentary on it isn't all that nuanced, but I feel like if you're on the internet anyway, you're kind of getting everything you need. This is very much just a character play. Yeah, I would go with I go with like a light 9. I think this is awesome.
Strong motherfucking 8. This shit slaps. It's lyrically poignant. It goes hard as fuck. The features are amazing. Musically, it's like takes me back to 8th grade prom, which scares me a little bit. Especially those last 2 tracks, and yeah, good shit.
Strong 6.
Boo!
I like it a lot.
Boo!
I like it. It's got some really good songs on it. Is it something I'm going to go back to that much? No. Is it something that I'm going to kind of smile when I hear blasting from Brian's room? Oh, sure. Yeah. I Dorian Electra has always been, even on Flamboyant, an artist that I appreciate more than I really listen to, which is a shame, but I wouldn't want them any other way because they fill this niche that brings so much life to it. Just such a specific niche and such a unique style that like I wouldn't want Dorian to change their sound to fit my tastes more specifically. Like, the more ridiculous they get, the happier I am for them and for everyone who really, really, really is into them. I wish I was among you. I'm not quite there yet, but...
You have been cast out.
The tribe has spoken.
The tribe has spoken.
I chose the album from Detroit rapper Boldy James, his collaboration with Sterling Toles, also of Detroit, Manger on McNichols, which is a jazz rap, a little bit of gangster rap in there, conscious hip hop, just a very, very jazzy record with beats made from live jazz instrumentation, primarily live jazz instrumentation, bit of sampling, mostly vocal sampling. And on top of the instrumentation, we have Boldy James himself, who has a very slow, sort of drawling flow as he tells these stories, some which may be directly autobiographical, some maybe not, but at any rate, they are dark, fairly depressive, and do not depict a happy life in Detroit for the disenfranchised people there. I chose this album on a whim because it was one of the few major hip-hop releases of the year.
Oh my God, June.
That I had not heard yet. And I was also intrigued by what it was tagged as in terms of genre. I ended up really, really enjoying it. What did you all think of it?
I have a lot. This album stewed with me a bit. Because on first listen, I didn't really feel it all that much. And by the end, it's grown on me quite a lot. Strong grower. Like the last listen, my eyes really opened up and I like really got down to why I really did enjoy this. Amazing lyrics. Some really introspective, very personal, very storytelling-esque. I mean, it really puts you in the streets of Detroit. It's really kind of stunning. The best thing about this album, though, is the beat work, the production. I mean, the jazz music utilized here and the way, is mind-blowing. It is gorgeous. It is stunning. Favorite track, by far, is Detroit River Rock.
I love that.
Is amazing.
Oh, that vocal sample, the "Do not let the tear from your eye."
Yeah, that song is incredible.
So good, and the is actually fucking awesome.
The best song
every single time. It's not a chorus; it's like a refrain, but it's at the end of every couple of bars. It's fucking awesome.
The best song, no cap, is Mommy Dearest. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's the best song. It cannot be contended with. It's not my favorite, but it's the best song.
It's there's so much to take in on that track, man.
But I mean, Medusa, Welcome to 76. I mean, the first 4 tracks just killer. But the instrumentation utilized throughout is just fantastic. I mean, it really is breathtaking. So I got a little controversial with June in the Discord a couple days ago when I made the comment that for me at the initial listens, this was like Diet T-Pap. Now, I like catchy zingers. That's why I said that. The reason I said that, though, is because I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the albums. Very introspective, talking about how the way they grew up changed how they are as a person, growing up in the streets that they lived in, being involved with what they were, and it's very jazzy, I think the jazz utilized in both records, though, is very different. That kind of distincts them. And obviously the way Boldy James raps is very different from how Kendrick raps. I just see a lot of parallels between the two, and T-Pap came out first, so obviously it's not that crazy to make that distinction. I mean, I hate to be like Boldy James is wearing his influences on his sleeve. I feel like he is a little bit, with just some of the ways that he... But what I think distincts him is his lyrics. I think just there's something about it that really hits it different. However, I was turned off from this album a little bit initially because I wasn't a fan of him as a rapper. I don't like his deadpan, monotone delivery. For the first couple listens, it made me feel like he didn't even want to be there. Bro, you're rapping about some serious shit here. Could you at least give a crap about it? But the more listens, that kind of changed from maybe it's weighing on his shoulders and he's very serious. Yeah. I just wish there was a little bit more energy to it. I feel like because he takes that monotone approach through the whole record. The entire record. His tone never changes through the entire record. I feel like with some of those tracks, you could have gone a little harder.
I would actually agree a little bit there. I think that one of the flaws of this record is that it does slog a little bit sometimes. Some verses are just slog on a little bit too much. It's not a huge issue, but it does show up every now and then.
I don't mind at any point his delivery. It's totally in line with everything he's talking about. I mean, this is a depressive album. When you really get to the core of everything he's talking about here, it's all upsetting. Pretty much all of it.
So as some other musics we've talked about, you could talk about sad stuff, but still have some energy in your voice. I feel like, hell, I'll talk about a controversial artist that I didn't care for that much, Shushu. I mean, Jesus Christ, as depressing as that album gets, the man has some energy. Even when he's somber in his slowed down lyrics, there's so much emotion behind him. I get that sometimes with Boldy James, but there's just sometimes where it's bruh, you are literally talking about your mother, wanting to get an abortion. Could you at least sound like you give a shit? I don't know. It just kind of takes me out of the vibe.
Well, the tone he takes is, think about the weight of something like that and the pressure. Something it would make you totally despondent. It's something how could you expect someone to, and the criticism can stand. I'm not devaluing your criticism, but the way he's processing that is completely different.
I have a debunk to that, fucking The Game with Hate It or Love It featuring 50 Cent. There's a lyric in that song as well where he's sometimes when I'm in the studio and I get a roadblock or writer's block, I think about, what would happen if my mom got an abortion? I wasn't here, But he has so much, even with it's a weighted line, and there's a lot of rappers that have touched that.
I don't think one person doing something a certain way debunks the other way someone does something.
I'm just saying it's possible to be serious and have a weighted line and still have some emotion or energy behind your voice. That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't understand the criticism. I know what you're saying, right? but I don't understand the criticism when he's coming from such a personal place. If what connects with you is that what he's saying is so heavy, I don't understand how the delivery could factor it at all. Like, I mean, he's not just like, it's not like a triplet bar, like a throwaway bar. Like, the whole song is super despondent. The interview tacked on at the end of that song reinforces his tone on the entire song. Like, it's very clear on the whole song and the end bit. Like, this is not a fun subject. It doesn't piss him off.
Right.
This is like, I mean, this is a killer idea.
I guess
like, it will, you know what I mean?
I guess what bothers me is that he holds that tone for the entire album. So if he had changed it up
fine.
a few,
I get it.
I guess it makes those heavy moments not hit as hard because he keeps the same tone through the whole thing. If he had changed it up a few times, I think it would have made some of those emotional moments hit harder than they do. Does that make sense?
For me, yeah, no, I get that. For me, the
come into that. Yeah, that's
yeah, I hear you. For me, the consistency just made it all the more impactful because it's very clear that this is not a fucking game. Like, I don't know. Like, this is very much like, even the lines where he's talking about being paranoid and jumping at the slightest move. Like, he sounds so tired of having to do this. And he literally says so many times now, I'm tired of selling dope. Nothing is worse than when you have to sell dope.
I get a little
that's a very, very memorable line.
I get a little backwards from that though when he constantly name drops his fucking gang, Con Creatures. It gets a little like twisty where it's like,
I don't think that's a gang. I think it's just
not a gang.
Yeah, like I think it's just a moniker.
Just a word that he made up that just enforces the idea that like concrete and creatures that he's not.
This city made us this way.
That he feels less than human.
Keep in mind, first time ever hearing of this artist, first musical project I've ever heard. The way he delivers that line makes it sound like it's like a gang. You know what I mean? Like con creatures. You know, we out here kind of thing. I did. And when the subject he's talking about, how can I not think about that? Keep in mind, so this is my musical listening experience. So when I hear that and then I hear the line saying, oh, I hate this life, it's like you're giving me mixed signals here, you know? But that's just, I really liked this. So that's why I'm just going, I really took the comb through this. The more listens just made me more enveloped into the music. And I mean, the music really helped because the first listen, I was like, I'm not really feeling the lyrics. I'm not really feeling the MC, but this music, holy shit. So once I did a lyric listen and really read through, I mean, I found some gems in there. There's some emotional moments here. I guess that's why I took it more seriously, where I was just like, you know, noticing more nitpicks. These are just nitpicks. I'm not.
What you said at the beginning, I felt the same way. Like my listen, like, let me get ready to talk about it. Like that final listen was like, you know, it had all. I understood that I really liked it before, but that last listen, like you can kind of really start to hear because the tracks here kind of flow together really well. Like Welcome to 76 flows right into Rock River.
I guess that's another reason I compared this to T-Pap so much. It's very conceptual with some of the track titles and the way everything flows into each other. Like I said, just little similarities that really I couldn't help make.
There's not much a narrative on this one though, as there is on like this is very much just like I think miscellaneous things that make me feel horrible, kind of. But the way the instrumentals flow into one another is just a conscious way to give it an album flow.
The transitions between the tracks are fantastic and do well to albumize this entire experience. Like they're seamless and really, really, really well done.
All the thing, even though it's a difficult material, everything Boldy goes through here. On Detroit River Rock, he's kind of just like talking about the violence in Detroit City and like his experiences with it there. There's a lot of like just tales on here that are Requiem is the one that sticks out the most to me. This tale about a friend of Boldy's who gets wrapped up in like a murder plot, and he talks about this guy having to, when he wasn't brought dope by the person who was supposed to bring him dope, he had to shoot his uncle and kill him. And how that guy ended up, and there was some ska around that guy going to jail, and someone got killed trying to blame the murder on Boldy and one of his friends. The top Mommy Dearest, which is like him talking about his difficult relationship with his mother, and it's horrible. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just so defeated and down. And the song at the end, where the interview at the end, and then where he talks about taking the hook from the Biggie song. Where, you know, Notorious B.I.G., where he talks about his mom wishing she had an abortion. And then he repeats that hook over that interview, you know. To me, that line carries so much weight because who am I to tell someone how to, you know, obviously it's a horrible thing, but, you know, any way he delivered it because of the subject matter was just, you know, it's just shocking, honestly. Instrumentally, the whole album is gorgeous. Love the violin that leads in on Medusa. It's so amazing. Love the pianos.
The
all
flute
over
is nice
song.
too. The flute use is really nice.
Yeah, the flutes are really great as well.
I thought the drumming was exceptional throughout.
Yeah, I think we kind of talking about musically, I think is a good way to talk about the last track here, this 8-minute Got Flick, which is like free jazz rap. I mean, this is like one of the most ambitious rap songs I think I've ever heard in my entire life. It's just 8 minutes of like this free form jazz instrumental with this just incredible drumming. And Boldy just kind of does his thing over it after the feature. Louis P. Newton just kind of comes in at the beginning, gives like a spoken word piece, and it's just him kind of compartmentalizing his thoughts. It's kind of stuff we've heard before, but it's so free flowing. This is the only song that feels like not meticulously written. It really feels like just, from the top of his head, what was he thinking about? What was he feeling? And that's kind of how the whole album is. It's really just how he feels about his city, what he thinks about the future of it, his experiences in it, and him just getting a lot of shit off his chest, honestly. There's only 2 features on the whole thing, and they're basically, one is an introduction and one is a hook. So, it's really just him the whole time over these great, amazing jazz instrumentals. That it's incredible the synergy his verses actually have with the instrumentals. I thought this thing was fucking great. This is one of the best rap projects from last year, in my opinion, because the collaboration, it adds a lot to it. I think the instrumentals are pretty, instrumental here for like enjoying it so much. But really, it's Boldy just it's not Schadenfreude or anything like that, but just I don't know. I feel like I'm in on the dude's kind of like therapy session, and I just and part of me was like connecting. Like, I want you to just get this off your chest. The more I listened, it was like I want to hear all this. So that, it's weird. It was like I want your experience out there. I just want to fucking hear about whatever you need to say it. And the more I listen, the more connected. Not because of my experiences, but just as like a human, it was like this. It's some fucked up shit to go through. He's seen a lot of shit. It's made him very tired. This album, I guess, if you had to put it up in one word, is very somber and tired.
Yeah.
I think this record doesn't. I've seen a lot of discussion around the record, but just how despondent he is stood out the most to me from first listen.
I'll concur with basically all of that. The thing that makes me come back to this the most is the instrumentals, because I love a good jazz rap instrumental. Especially considering how free these instrumentals are and how live they are. Because you have some jazz rap that's mostly sample based and it can be incredible. And you also have jazz rap that is based on live instrumentation that can also be fantastic. This falls into the latter category and is some of the more winding, free sort of jazz that I've heard on a hip hop record. And I think that's really, really cool. And I think that this style contrasted with Boldy's performance that Brian said is despondent. It's deadpan. It sounds apathetic with that, but maybe that's just because he's lost the energy, really, to put more energy in his voice. Does this lead to one of my criticisms being that I wish that his flow changed up a bit more and that sometimes it slogs a bit? It does. And I that would be one of the things that brings this down just a little bit for me. But when I think about it conceptually, it's kind of right on point. It makes sense to me why it's like that. And I don't know if I would change it, because while it does bring with it some negatives, it really informs the entire character of the album. I really, really, really like this thing. I definitely love some of the tracks here. Welcome to 76, Detroit River Rock. I really like BB Butcher, Mommy Dearest. I like Requiem and Why Are You In Here? Relatively short tracks near the end. And of course, the closer, Got Flicked, is a fantastic, about 8.5 minute cut. Very spiritual jazz influenced, I think. And we should mention that the type of jazz being drawn from here is a little bit of the more spiritual, more expressive, more winding, stylistically kind of jazz. It's not really a bop kind of record.
So, yeah. Even though there's some moments that are, especially on Detroit River Rock and Birth of the Bold, that are a little more, I guess, hard-hitting for the record.
Yeah, a little more upbeat.
I think they have kind of a refrain, and that tends to just kind of be more memorable, on impact. But I would agree with that. Yeah, there are a couple of moments, but it's mostly what we've said.
I'm going to go with a decent 8 on this. Grew on me quite a bit. Amazing music, amazing lyrics. just a little nitpicks here and there that just irked me a little bit, but have since just kind of, like, it doesn't ruin it for me. And you guys put it into perfect context of why it's like that. I wasn't thinking about that when I was listening to it. I never really even took that in consideration.
I mean, that's like the whole point of the show, right? Is to get a different perspective.
We talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. But I really did enjoy this. I mean, this grew on me. This is probably the most growed on me album, aside from a few other things. But yeah, I really like this. Decent 8.
Gene, say that thing again. Say what you said before, because I talked over you.
I was just going to say that that's like kind of what the whole show's about, is listening to an album, maybe making up your mind a little bit about it, and then being exposed to a completely different opinion about it, or maybe not completely different, but different in some way, and reconsidering. Or maybe you don't reconsider. Maybe it just makes your own opinion stronger, but in any way, it enriches your experience with the music.
Chaz was doing his thinking face the whole time. I saw him. He was like, I like when Chaz, he's like, he has a very involved face when, like, where he's listening.
Yeah, you can see it.
Like
when you say something that Chaz is down with, he's like, yeah.
You can see, like, the struggle in his head. He's like, do I agree or do I disagree?
Dude, my head gets big veiny when I'm using my thinking cap. It gets big veiny. Decent 8. Good pick. It really did grow on me a lot. And
what's your score, Brian?
I would go with strong 8. I thought it was fucking great. You would just go with a big fucking yawn. Jesus Christ.
I'm leaving them in. I'd usually take them out, but because you did that, leaving it in.
I'm going to go with a decent 8.
The album I've picked is the sophomore release from Unwarranted Music Opinion's most infamous band, Diet Sig. Diet Sig, indie pop, bedroom pop, twee pop, that kind of shit. The album is Do You Wonder About Me? So, story time, kids. When I picked this back on episode 3, years ago, back in 2018, I thought it was just some fun, hard rockin' duo kind of band. I thought they were really interesting. They really stuck out because at that point, duo bands like the Black Keys were pretty much done with. Fucking White Stripes were way since disbanded by then. That kind of like aesthetic, was really just done with. But Died Stick had a lot of character, I thought. I watched a reviewer bring them up and they seemed really cool. Listened to some of the tracks and I was really hooked. It was really catchy, really introspective, had a lot of character to it. So I decided to do it for the show because I was really getting into that at the time. Fucking Jude and Brian just dogged on this thing. It's still one of the most infamous moments ever. They just fucking dogged on it. So one of the major complaints, it's fake. It's corporate. It feels so self-centered, cringy, that kind of stuff. And at the time I was like, where are these critiques coming? I never really could understand where these critiques are coming from. So then I saw the band live and I was with my girlfriend at the time, who I was getting into the band with, and we went to go see them. So then I got to meet the members, Alex Luciano and her husband or boyfriend. They're a couple, I think. I don't remember the dude's name. It doesn't really matter.
I don't even know if they're a couple.
I just heard that when I got the YouTuber that mentioned them brought that up.
I feel like you gotta do your research, pal.
Nah, not with this.
These sure they're not a couple.
I think you should especially do it. Being wrong about a year is hilarious. Dude, that's their personal life.
They don't listen to the show. They're above that. So anyway.
Whoa.
Me and the girl I was seeing at the time always made the funny, oh, you guys look really, the lead singer, Alex Luciano, and her looked very similar. Similar haircuts, similar face, oh, you're lost twin sisters kind of thing. So they were getting ready to set up after the opening band played. And they come down to the front stage just talking to people, and they start talking to us, which was really cool. And I mentioned this joke, and I'm like, oh, you guys look really similar. You're twin sisters. And she goes, oh my God, fucking, I just immediately was like, no, they were right. No, I was so fucking upset because that completely turned me off for the rest. It was still a great concert. We danced, we had fun. But just, it was in the back of my mind the whole fucking time. I was like, oh, she's the kind of bitches I hated in high school that were just fake and Starbucks and upset me so much. It really pissed me off.
I don't like where this is going. I don't like where this is going.
Maybe you should listen to my agenda again.
So anyway, fast forward. We're doing the show again. Season 2. Died Sig releases a new album. Like, okay, we gotta pick this. Because, of course we gotta talk about if they improved, are they still shit, in June and Brian's eyes, and how do I feel? With that in the back of my mind of like, oh shit, are they corporate? Are they fake? Like, is it really just kind of like playing up the feminist stuff? And like, did any of that shit that she talks about in the debut even happen to her? That kind of stuff. Just having an existential crisis.
I didn't say that. I would like to strike from the record that I did not say that these experiences were fabricated.
So I listened to...
June didn't say she didn't say that, so remember that.
I listened to Do You Wonder About Me? I like it. We'll get that away. I like it. But I had to listen to the debut again, and I still feel it's like a light 8 at this point. Because a lot of the things that I gravitated toward with, I still did, even with all that shit in my mind. I was like, okay, I still really enjoy this. It's so much energy, so much catchy hooks. The lyrics, whether you think they're cringy, they feel real. They feel like they're coming from a real place. Because Brian, you and I should know this above all people. It's really hard to make music and put it out there. So regardless of your talent or your ability, it takes a lot of gusto to put your shit out there. And listening to that and listening to this really put a lot of that in context. But I'll save my thoughts for that. But point is, I still really like the debut. I'm sitting about a light 8, and I like this. But I still think the debut's better for reasons. But let's get to what we're all here for. How did June and Brian think of Died Sig's sophomore release, Do You Wonder About Me?
So I hated the first Died Sig album because it was like really, really bad version of Tiger Trap is what I described it as at the time. This indie pop, a little bit of twee in there. The best thing about it was the way it sounded, the production, the way the drums sounded, the way the guitars sounded. I thought that there was energy in the instrumentation. I actually don't dislike this album. This album is fine. I don't like it all that much. I still have problems with Diet Sig on the whole, but what I dislike the most about the first one, the lyrics and the vocals, are kind of hidden under a slightly more shoegazy exterior on this record. The guitars are a little dreamier. The vocals are mixed a little lower in the mix. Those vocals.
Off cap.
And overall, I think the songwriting is improved.
Alex Luciano is like the prime example of masturbatory vocals. Just that fucking falsetto. Every time she's like, oh, guess what? I'm doing this fucking falsetto. And you're going to hear every word that comes out of my mouth. Like, oh, man. I can agree. Do you wonder? I was like, as first I heard that, I was like, no, they're going to hate it. Shit. Like, even I was like, oh, God damn it.
But
it's really not that much on this album compared to the first one.
As much as that does happen, like I said, a lot of it's buried under the guitars, which are actually really nice. And then there's also sometimes some sort of harmonized vocals, which I don't think there were very many or any at all on the debut. For example, the chorus of the first song, Thriving, I'm thriving, thanks for asking. Even though I'm not really a big fan of the lyrics, I think it's a really catchy hook, and I think that the vocals, like background vocals on that bit, just kind of sound really good. The production across the board is really nice, I think. Even if it is really quite standard, there are some little things. There's some nice synths on this record.
The synths really surprised me, and they add a lot to the music. Like, when they come in, they're pretty damn good, actually. I really like the synth work on this.
But at the end of the day, well, this is, I think, a marked improvement on the original. When I put it up next to something like
Beach Bunny.
I think the first, exactly.
Yeah.
This is like Beach Bunny, but not as likable and as good. Like, it's very similar stylistically, even thematically, to Beach Bunny.
I don't think so. No. Actually, no.
It is.
I disagree with that. No.
It's got
the guitars on Beach Bunny are way more cleaner compared to, like, it is way more like garagey. And that's a full-on band. This is just a drummer and a guitarist kind of thing going on here with Died Sig. I think
there's still bass and there's still
it's just
sometimes.
The keys. Yes, that's surprising, but I don't think there's any bass.
There is bass on this record. There's totally bass on this
I didn't hear it. I think it's just guitars and drums.
You don't have to hire a bassist as well to have, like, it could have just been a studio musician.
That's true.
There was definitely bass.
Like, there is bass all over
thinking,
it.
hey, that's kind of a cool bass line. It kind of moves around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bassy record, but there's bass on it. But thematically, this album is very much post-breakup, but still really kind of obsessed with the previous relationship and not in a good way.
That is
like the title, Do You Wonder About Me? It seems like half this album's like, I don't care about this guy or
girl power, you know, it really
and then
feels
the
like
other half of the lyrics are just like,
it's corporate
I don't care
feminism.
about this guy, but does he think about me?
Yes.
I want to look cute when I see him.
Yes.
Like, why?
It's like a studio head idea of feminism where it's like, you stood up to him by breaking up with him, but you gotta still think about him because it's like. So another thing that really irked me during that concert was she had this big moment at like the middle of the concert when it was about to lead into 16, one of the most infamous songs we've ever done for the show. She's leading up to it, like she's chugging her guitars, the drumming's like doing these the drummer's doing these fills, building up to it, and the whole time she's going on this big spiel about we love all types of people, everybody's welcome here, you know, we accept all. If you're touching somebody, make sure it's consensual, all this shit, like, you know, whatever. And at the end of the concert, I got the vinyl and I went to go get it signed, and they signed it. They were very nice. This is at the time when H3H3's Vape Nash was really popular. So I wanted to get them to do the Vape Nash meme with me in the picture. I thought it would be funny, because that's just the kind of guy I am. And she goes, we don't condone vaping, you know, like, and I was like, bitch, you just went on this big spiel about accepting all, but because this guy, like, you can't, a fucking vapor, like, that's the... it just really pissed me off. I was like, you are a fucking...
You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Why are you so mad about this stupid part? They didn't do the Vape Nation thing for you in 2018? Are you fucking upset about that? You know, it was years ago, right?
Yeah. Well,
like,
but no, your guys'
it was 5 years ago.
Your guys' complaint...
Like, just about.
Your guys' complaint about them being, like, kind of corporate and just fake was, like... I was like, you're kind of right.
You're telling me doesn't feed into that. I have no fucking clue how what you're telling me feeds into that. I don't understand.
No, because like
I won't go.
Like she was programmed to say that. You know what I mean? Like oh well, we must accept all, but you're like vaping, nah.
On behalf of who? On behalf of who?
Fucking truth.com. I don't know, Brian. Fuck you. It just pissed me off.
Yeah, like she doesn't like. I don't understand where this is coming from. I don't understand. I just simply don't understand how them not taking a Vape Nation pic with you. I get that it sucks you didn't get your meme picture, dude. But like,
my point
everything you're telling me does not feed into any sort of like they're just saying this because it just what. Even if I don't like their fucking music, even if I think it's dog shit, even if I hate this and hate the previous one, and I don't know shit about them from a concert or otherwise. So I feel like it's a lot.
I'm agreeing with you guys. Even when I tried to agree with these motherfuckers, it's like I'm fought against. I can't even agree with you two. Anyway, keep talking.
Lyrically, it's pretty meh. It's very meh.
It's very meh.
And like I mentioned, there's a lot of elements that are thematically similar to Beach Bunny, but that Beach Bunny just does better. I think on account of Lily Trafilio just being a better vocalist and lyricist. I think she takes more nuanced approaches towards these things that are a little less, it's hard to come up with the right word, but just kind of self-centered. I feel like Lily Trafilio shows more...
She shows more maturity. She's younger. She's younger than Alex, and she shows more maturity. Well,
I think you're going on this tirade against Alex Luciano. I don't want to impress upon anyone listening that can't listen to Diet Sick because Alex Luciano is bad. I'm not making any kinds of judgments about her as a person. I'm just talking about the way that her lyrics come off, and I think that her lyrics are significantly more immature than Beach Bunny, and in a way that me as a 23, almost 24-year-old I can't connect with at all. It makes me think back to some of the people I knew in like college or like late high school, like age 17 to 20-ish, who like it kind of puts it makes you remember that sort of space. Like I think everybody has known people. Like I have known people. I can think of times whenever like a friend of mine or something was like going on about some kind of drama, and my response was always like, wait, but why does this matter? Like I don't know, like there's so much post breakup drama that doesn't need to happen if you're just mature enough to not make it happen. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but this just sort of brought me back to that level of like 18, 20-year-old style of thinking.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Whereas I think Beach Bunny was also, there was a line that even in Beach Bunny that's the "Do you think about me" line that is in one of the songs on that Beach Bunny record, which is basically exactly the title of this album. But I just think in context, it's done better.
I'm probably the most negative on the whole show on things. If I don't like something, I tend to go in on it kind of hard for different reasons. Sometimes it's just in the name of being over the top. And sometimes it's like, I actually hate this. My original take on the first Diet Cig record pretty much remains the same. It really comes down to, I don't really like the lyric, songwriting, singing, and the playing is whatever. And it just adds up to an experience that's too long and is really annoying at the end of the day. I don't like her voice and the way she sings is what it is. On this album, I think her singing is improved. I think there's improvements on all fronts, but it's not like night and day or anything. I think it just has gotten like slightly better.
It's gotten better, and it's gotten to the point where like, well, I remember saying on the first album there's that I'm excited to see where they go because there's definitely something here. Like, I think Thriving is actually a really good song, even if I don't like the lyrical concept all that much. I think the chorus, I think there's just some hooks here that are pretty much undeniable, even if the album as a whole isn't anything that's particularly great. Like, there's definitely something here that can be expanded upon.
There's good stuff here. I guess my favorite songs, the songs I like the most, I think the hook on Thriving is good, but it's not one of my favorite songs. I guess Night Terrors and Worth the Wait are kind of my favorite songs. I think they're maybe the most mature or the most explored lyrically. I like the instrumentals on them as well. They're played just fine. The drumming's really good all over the whole album. I think this album I like the direction they took with the sounds of the guitars and everything. Just kind of making everything a little more dreamy, like June said. I think that just did wonders for it. And I think her improving her singing to some degree helped out a little bit. It's also that the mixing is kind of more based around the band as a whole package and not just her leading it. Like there's a lot, it feels more like cohesive than the last one as well.
I agree.
But that's not enough to make songs like Broken Body any more tolerable, to be honest. Like that song reminded me so much of the debut because and I'm not a genius, I'm probably an idiot, but there's a level of nuance that neither album has really had. I think it's more here than it was on the last one, but it's very much on its face. What am I feeling at this moment in time? It feels, and there's not much of an age gap or anything. I don't know if they're probably the same age as me, if not like a year younger or something. But even though I can relate to where they might be, like, with the whatever inciting incident sparked all the lyrics on this album, I just don't think the songs are there and the writing are there to really make it anything other than just kind of listenable. Like, it's an improvement, but this is not by any means something I would go back to or am even interested in hearing ever again, like for any particular reason. I just think for me personally, it's just kind of non-essential. Like, I'm sure they could do, anyone could do something good at any time, but this band it does nothing for me at any level, more or less. Like, I totally just feel completely neutral. Like, I think it's kind of cool. I wouldn't hate it if it were on, but it doesn't really do anything for me personally. I just don't really get anything out of it. I don't feel better as a person for listening to it. I get where they're coming from, what they're trying to express, but just not for me. Just not for me.
Completely agree with the lyrical takes. The first album, what enraptured me so much was the catchiness, the energy, playful yet introspective nature of the lyrics and a lot of memorable stuff there. And I re-listened to it. I was like, oh yeah, like there it is. This album is better in a lot of ways in terms of just production, musical choices, and there's more oomph. There's more, like, even, I wouldn't even call the debut emotional, but I feel like this one actually is. The problem is the lyrics on this one are so milquetoast. They're so cliche. And I don't like her rambly style of delivery where it's like, it feels like there's no real structure to the hooks here. But the debut, I mean, moaning my own name, or I use my phone until it dies, just like plants, I keep anything alive. Like, just memorable lines that, like, I kind of was like into. The only line I can name to you on this one that isn't like fucking I love you in some way is I promise not to kill you in my sleep, which when I first heard that was like, whoa, hold up, what the fuck is this about?
And that's from Night Terrors, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I actually think is lyrically probably the best song on the album. Because
I would agree.
It's not about this breakup. It's more personal to her, and her saying, like, I experienced this shitty thing. Let me make a song about it.
Yeah.
I think that's infinitely more interesting than the other stuff she's talking
Exactly.
about. I want more of that.
Exactly.
If Diet Stick comes out with another album, I want them to go more, like, I want Alex to write about shit that she feels personally and experiences personally, and not her. Because right now I feel like we only get Alex in relation to other people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the problem is, if you're going to do that, make it more interesting. All these songs that are about the same subject matter just are so surface level. I mean, Brian, your Seether take is mind blowing at sometimes when I think back of that. But it's like, you're really right. It's the same shit, just different genre. Like, her take on relationships is so base level. But what made the debut more interesting to me was that there were lines, or the way she talked about things, that felt distinct to her. Like, that's how she would talk about that. And that's what made that more interesting. Here, it's like some guy in a suit wrote these lines and said, here, you are going to sing about this. You know, write a hook around this lyrics right here. And they took it and were like,
I don't
okay.
think that. I don't think
That's what I
anyone's
think.
Well,
That's
I don't
what
think
I-
it's what happened, but you can get the vibe. That can be a vibe that you get.
Mhm.
Sure.
Right? Like, it's not that's obviously not what happened, but it could sounds like that could have been.
But what
I see what you're
saves it-
saying. It's just
what-
because I agree. I just would phrase, it's like cookie cutter. Like, I get what you're
yeah,
saying.
what saves it for me is the emotion behind the playing and the singing. So much better this time around. Even as someone who loves the debut, so much better because it feels more real. I mean, the last half of this album is truly great. I love the back half of this album. From Flash Flood to Night Terror's Reprise, it's like pretty damn good. I mean, the synths on those songs just add so fucking much. So much. I mean, this is a meme band. And will we do them again if they come out with a third album? Maybe, because I feel like at this point they're part of the show. And if your guys' scores are what I think they are, I feel like we are allowed to do them again, given Brian's little wager he made against me last time. I'm feeling a strong 7 on this. It's not as good as the debut, but I feel like in some factors it is. But not what I come to Diet Sick for. I'll leave with that.
Light 5.
Decent 5.
Which equals a 10. We will do them again if they come out with another album. Yes.
And doing the Chaz math of averages, it averages out to a 7 somehow.
Yeah,
with the fucking,
yeah.
I don't know what you fucking did. You literally said this one with the Death Grips,
Death Grips,
rating both sides of the double album. You said 8 and 2, which the average of is 4. How did you fucking get that number? Do you know, to this day.
I don't know.
Don't show me your fingers, I'll kill you. What the fuck are you talking about with your fingers?
I don't know.
Even if you,
I don't know.
You need help.
So, given this mantra, the next record, if it's better than this, you guys will get 6 or 7s, maybe even 8s out of it, which would be stellar. Died sick good. Just not there yet. But what do we do next? What's next? The big one.
Next, we're going to talk about albums that we like.
And that we hate.
And that we hate. It's
And
basically the thing
like
that we
almost.
do. Shut up. And it's basically something that we do for ourselves because we know that barely anyone's listening anyway. And we're just doing it for fun. The whole purpose of doing the podcast is doing it for fun. we are going to talk about the albums that we have enjoyed the most and not enjoyed the most over the past like 30 or some episodes, which ends up being like 90 albums total. It's just fun to go back and look over everything and kind of do a bit of a retrospective.
Pick our favorites.
And it's just, like I said, it's an excuse for us to just talk music a little bit in a more casual setting than typically. And it's just fun. And we're going to take a bit of a break from the podcast in between then we'll come back with like a season 3 or whatever, like a quote unquote season for the podcast.
Series in UK.
So you can find us there. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. We're not doing any new albums.
So on this final, it serves as an epilogue of sorts where we kind of pick. I think the way we formatted it last time was we did our least favorites, the worst, what we were forced to listen to.
Some shout outs and honorable mentions. And then
and stuff that didn't quite make our favorites. Top 10.
Top 10. Yeah, our top 10.
Which is what we did last time. Doing it again this time.
This one will be more interesting, I think. There's been a lot of variety of stuff we've talked about. Like,
it's more than that, because we do kind of go back. We just sort of talk, like, we're basically compartmentalizing the experience of like, okay, here's all of our favorites. Remember when we talked about this? You know, it's 26 episodes, I think, each time. You know, these all 26 are available on YouTube for the first time. So this is kind of our whole season. So, you know, for the first time available on YouTube. So everything we've uploaded, you can actually go back now and, you know, find the reviews if you listen to the end and hear anything that piques your interest, I guess.
So we'll see you then.
Mostly for us.
We'll see you then.